Hi, my name is Tony Ridley and welcome back to another Crisis Leadership and Management Education tutorial. In this section we're talking about priority decision making. In this subset we're going to talk about the more detailed approach to decision making on a priority basis. In prior sessions we've spoken about ready, rapid tools and systems and methodologies for expediting timely decision making that can be repeated over and over. What we're talking about now is a more risk-based decision cycle that encompasses parts of that immediacy, but also goes into a more structured, analytical and stage-based approach. So first of all is determining the context in which the events have transpired, the events that have been reported or you consider to be relevant, as well as how it relates to you, the organisation, in a short to medium term cycle. Now this is an important phase and again often given lip service in the terms of if you effectively analyse a lot of circumstances and situations, particularly broad spectrum such as market downturns or industry affected areas or geographical disturbances and natural disasters, if you actually contextualise and examine in a number of instances, you'll find that whilst it may be an issue, it doesn't necessarily affect you. And it's important that you go through that phase to confirm or deny that you have actually been affected. And this is particularly acute in developing economies, third world countries and so on, is that if somebody sees or hears a report on a particular country, then everybody assumes the entire country is affected, when in reality they are big places and geographically you have no exposure whatsoever, so therefore you shouldn't be compelled to make decisions on what is a non-contextual risk in this instance. Then once you've considered the context of the risk, looked at the threats and the hazards, and remembering that risk is the result of threats and hazards after there have been particular countermeasures or treatments have been put in place. So the context as it applies to you, and then looking at the likelihood that it impacts upon you, the likelihood of certain negative outcomes, the likelihood of a change in circumstances, both positive and negative, and the likely consequences that will have on you and or the organisation. So this now gives you a far more detailed approach, and it's one that you can expend far more time and resources on if you have it, remembering that your 5-minute reconciliation or your 5-minute SOAP application, subjective objective assessment plan review may be more preferential in the early stage before you determine and confirm that you can go into this more detailed approach. So you've now got an understanding of the threats and hazards. You've made an appreciation, whether it be a percentile factor of 80% chance of rain, or a 30% chance of this being negatively impacting the organisation. You've got some measure of likelihood as well as the consequence or impact that it will have on the organisation. And again, this, depending on the time available, this gives you an opportunity to reevaluate or to measure and benchmark your performances, both externally and objectively, to ensure that your subsequent decisions and plans are congruent with the desired outcomes. And then having a structured review once you've gone through this analytical process. A period of hours, days, maybe even weeks may have transpired. So the reality is that you need to go through that immediate ready reckoning process again and quickly make sure or ensure that your paradigm, perception, understanding and methodology is consistent with the circumstances as they were when you first began. This is a time for pause, a time for reflection, and making sure that whatever system that you're using, whatever structure and methodology, is that you've built in a revised process or a revision stage to ensure that you haven't deviated from the original objective or the circumstances haven't changed significantly to the point of you now requiring to change your course of action or desired approach. And obviously all of these decisions and cycles need to be documented, whether you're using electronic formats, whether you're still writing on notebooks, whiteboards, whatever the case may be, you need to have tools and systems. Increasingly, there are better tools available for facilitation, for rapid acquisition, access, storage, and relationship building for particular documents, information, releases. It should be more than an Excel spreadsheet. It should certainly be more than a mail management system like Microsoft Outlook. It needs to be significantly more than that. Even for the smallest of organizations, small to medium enterprises, there are plenty of cloud-based, there are plenty of desktop applications that have both offline and online applications. And you need to be prepared and rehearsed in all of these areas, because, as I've reiterated several times, is that you shouldn't be learning new systems in the middle of a crisis as well, because it has one guaranteed outcome, is it will delay and most likely could lead to fail as you try and assimilate all of the information as well as learning new systems. And this is particularly acute for the senior representatives of a crisis management team who often are poorly rehearsed or don't partake or are unfamiliar with certain systems or updates due to the demands of their daily routine requirements. So ensure that you and everybody else and the representatives that may be scribes or note takers or intermediaries for that system are all briefed, prepared in advance, long before the need is ever required. So once again, just to recap, contextualize the threats and hazards, determine the likelihood, examine and evaluate the consequences, have a structured decision-making process for rationalization and prioritization of information, and ensure that all of these stages, decision points, outcomes, references are documented, archived, analyzed, reviewed, and formulate not only part of your real-time decision-making, but are also accessible later on for case studies, systems improvements, or as evidence for trials, litigations, and whatever the case may be. So once again, thanks very much for joining us in this series. For more information on crisis leadership management, please visit the website on www.crisismanagement.tony-ridley.com. That's all for now in this particular session. Thank you. Goodbye.